Hello, everyone. This is Tony, co-founder and CEO of SHOPPE Black. Today, I'm joined by two very impressive and inspiring men, Mr. Osei Ruby, the founder and president of National Standard Abstract, a full-service title insurance agency that has expertise in residential and commercial real estate transactions. How you doing, Osei?
Doing great, doing fantastic. Happy New Year to everybody. Happy New Year to you and your family, Tony.
Thank you. Same to you. Same to you. And Mr. Chris Bramwell, the co-founder and CEO of CB Emmanuel Realty, a 15-year-old real estate development company focused on acquiring and revitalizing investment-grade properties in the New York City and surrounding area. How are you doing today, Chris?
I'm good. I'm good. How you doing, Tony?
Doing great, doing great. Thank you both
Excellent,
for
excellent. Happy
joining.
New Year.
Happy New Year. So, I mean, let's get right into it. Both of your companies have done some amazing deals together. I'm talking like multi-million-dollar deals, and I'm trying to get into the how, the why, the where, and the story itself. So let's start with how did you meet? How did you both meet?
Okay. Right. So that's a great question. Actually, we're going back almost 10 years now, where he and I met at an event, and I worked at another company. And it's really funny because that timeline is something that he and I toss back and forth so often, and is a big part of the reason why we're here today with this, empowerment, initiative that we have amongst each other. He, meaning Chris Bramwell and Ben Upshaw, and Nadir Ruby. I mean, those two guys are not on the call today, but representatives of owners of the company, respectively. We have continued to engage each other and be able to create empowerment. So we met about 10 years ago at an event when I worked as a sales guy at another company, and then transitioned now years later in 2015 to start National Standard Abstract, which Chris Bramwell and CB Emmanuel as a company have been extremely supportive of.
That's great.
And let me just add to that story. I was once upon a time somewhat antisocial. Like I wasn't really trying to be the socialite, but being in business, you have to kind of figure it out how to get out of your shell. And I knew that there was this gentleman named Osei Ruby that had been looking for me. I would go to events and people would say, "Oh, did you see Osei? He's looking for you. He's looking for you." And I would leave the event because I wasn't really interested in being sold, because he had the reputation of salesman of the year. So I just wasn't interested in this one particular event he's talking about. I remember it was at the Cove, and I was leaving the event, and he caught me at the door. It was like, "Hey, you Chris Bramwell, I'm Osei Ruby, man." I was like, "Hey, man, I've been looking all over for you." So that's how we met. That's how he initially got me.
No, that's amazing. So I wanted to talk about the work that you both have done. There are two projects specifically that you've worked on together. I think they're within the last year that were huge. Yes. And if you could kind of go into describing those projects and what they mean to both of you.
Okay, well, the two projects that we closed on, and we've closed on a number of projects now, but yes, in 2020 we closed on two. One of the projects was a project that CB Emmanuel was awarded a city award for minority RFP. So New York City put out a RFP that was solely and strictly for minorities, and we were the awardees of one of the sites. So that site we closed in 2020. That's a 71 unit new construction. I think that one was $30 million in Brownsville, Brooklyn. So that's being built right now as we speak. It's in construction. So that project, and then the second project is a project that is in my hometown. I'm originally from Jamaica, Queens. I was born in Brooklyn, but raised in Jamaica, Queens. So I rep Southside really, really hard. And all the years I've been in the business, I've developed in Brooklyn and Buffalo and Niagara and Rochester, and I never did anything in my own hometown. So the second deal that we closed in 2020 was, a very important deal to me, because it was the first deal that I've closed in Southside Jamaica, Queens, and that was, I think, $30 million as well. So those were the two deals that we closed in 2020, and prior to that, I guess going back to other deals that we've done, when Osei started the company in 2015, we did a big deal back then. It was a multi-building portfolio. It's about $47 million. And that is the deal that, I think Osei really got to cut his teeth in being a businessman and dealing with a hard client.
So Osei, talk about dealing with Chris and his company. What is it about? Can you speak to the importance of networking and Black businesses working together, whether it's on this scale, smaller scales, larger scales, whatever?
So yeah, no, thank you for that, Tony, and thanks, Chris. I think one of the main takeaways that continues to resonate even today, and having started the business in National Standard Abstract in 2015, we closed over $1 billion, and hence why we're in our conference room right now in our Westbury office for National Standard Abstract. So this graphic behind us talks specifically about what you're talking about. So if you see in 2015, the bulk of our production for that year came from the deal that Chris Bramwell is speaking about for 40+ million, which was CSH. And we're very grateful for that. And I think that the landscape in and of itself requires us to be unified. And that, unification demonstrates itself through many ways. And when he and I connected and had, so many conversations that were filled with, future plans, strategic planning and mitigating risk, and so forth. That particular deal that I cut my teeth on that he's talking about had so much learning opportunities, and it still is bearing fruit today. So CSH had an entire assemblage, of buildings within the Brooklyn area that were part of that transaction. And it was layered with complexities and so forth. And it was a great way for us to demonstrate that we were not only ready, we were ready for excellence because he had been working on that transaction for a number of years. And he decided, look, I'm going to give Osei and Nadia Ruby this transaction, and they're going to have to now demonstrate that they are prepared and can, take us to the closing table seamlessly. So I think it gave us the ability to do that. And it also gave us the ability for CB Emmanuel and Christopher Bramwell and his team to show that we are standing behind this Black company and we want to give them the opportunity. If there's no opportunity that they're given, how can they demonstrate or be able to close over 1 billion? It will not happen. Mm-hmm. So I think it was very important for us to acknowledge that's not something he had to do. He felt it was necessary to do it, mm-hmm. and we are forever grateful for that opportunity.
Yeah, and to the detail of that first deal that I did with Osei, it would have been nerve-wracking for anybody. I mean, he's a new company, and if he were closing on my house, I'd be like, okay, it's a title, it's closing on my house, but that portfolio was 33 buildings. Mm-hmm. So that's technically 33 titles, and there's a lot of mistakes that could happen in something like that. So, I really gambled on him, and he really came through. Like the service, the standard he gave me was the standard that we were looking for. And, that's why we've continued to use National. I mean, my team always tells me, and we've used plenty of title companies over the years, but they always tell me, National gets right back to you. National is this, National is that. So I like to hear that. That's one headache I don't have to worry, because it is such a challenge being Black, being in real estate, being in affordable housing already. Anything that can be taken off my plate, if the title guy can do his job and I don't have to think about that, that's a plus. That allows me to do more. That allows me to kind of open up my mind, open up my business to make other things happen. So I appreciate when I can find someone who looks like me, that has a certain standard and can get the job done. And I don't always have to be making excuses like, yeah, I know, but he's this or he has that disadvantage. Like, there is nothing on the surface. If you didn't see Osei, you would not be able to tell what color he was or how the business is run. And that's what we have to do. I mean, unfortunately, we have to kind of hide and disguise, but that's what we got to do to advance. And that's what I've been doing for the last 25 years.
Wow, I don't know, that's amazing. And could you speak to the importance of mentorship also? Because I know both of you are big on philanthropy and giving back. Could you both speak to the importance of mentorship and giving back to the community, and some examples of what you've both been doing or are currently doing?
So yeah, I'll take that first. Thank you, Chris. So a couple of things. I've said this before in events and articles, and I'll say it now in this interview. And thank you, Tony, with Shop Black. You're doing a tremendous job, and we're grateful for the visibility. We stand beside and on the shoulders of the Chris Bramwells and so many others that have supported us, because without them, there is no us. Closed over 1 billion national standard abstract. So I think the mentorship aspect cannot happen without first having this, and then being able to have the resources financially to be able to perform and give college scholarships. Lincoln University, I did attend Lincoln University, which is the first historically Black college in the nation in Pennsylvania. And we were able to give $25,000 excuse me, in 2019 to create the Osei Ruby Technology Scholarship, among so many other institutions that we supported. Chinuzu Bakari, which is a Black organization that is connected to St. Paul's Church in Brooklyn. We did give to them several years over, and they focus on Black young men that are going from the elementary age all the way up, providing mentorship and college support and their career support through the entire timeline that may not have father figures in their life and in their household. So they're a great organization as well. Weeksville Heritage Center. I'm not sure how many of the viewers that may be watching this are familiar with Weeksville Heritage Center. It's in Brooklyn. It's a gem that preserves our history, and actually one of the first Black independent towns in the state of New York was Weeksville, by John Weeksville, and they have preserved several of the houses that were there. It was an independent town that was built in the 1800s, and it was a 25 city square block town, Weeksville, and it is still preserved with Weeksville Heritage Center. So we also donate to that, so that youth and our adults as well can visit to pay homage to those that came before us and had the foresight to create independence, and we can learn from our history as well. So the mentorship expands beyond the traditional sense, but it empowers us throughout our entire understanding of what must be provided. You know, scholarships so that people have the funds to further their education, number one. Technology and answering the technological and the gap of, you know, Blacks not having access to technology and other tools. So we've answered that. Lincoln University and so many instances in New York where we've given laptops to Black and brown students, and we're going to do that. As a matter of fact, on January 15th, we're going to give 50 laptops to Black and brown students in Brownsville. And then also, of course, the tools of using those technological pieces of equipment, which is the STEM learning, which we also need advancement in, and then also preserving our history. But again, all of that, which sounds great, and it is great, could not happen without the support of people like Chris Bramwell at CB Emmanuel, and so many others as well that have been staunch supporters. So I want to make sure that we pay proper respect to that, and that I couldn't do step 2, the Osei Ruby Charitable Fund, without step 1, having the support of somebody that determined. So Chris, you may want to add to that.
Yeah, so, you know, even adding to that whole mentorship, and like I said, I think I'm at the point in my career where I'm at to give back. Some of the things that I've done, and actually we did it this summer, was because of COVID, I created an IT organization. There's a company that we put together that kind of handles all of my IT, because we had to get to this remote work situation. So it was kind of overnight. And it actually worked out to be successful. The company's established, doing really well. And what we did this summer after they kind of let us out the house was I brought in a young man, a freshman in high school, and we introduced him to IT. I had him intern with this IT department of the company that I created. I paid him out of my pocket. And what I did is because they, you know, they build the gaming computers and they're just techies. And he was really interested in gaming computers. So what I told the IT company was, listen, I'll buy the parts, but you guys are teaching him how to do computers and ITs, let him build it. So they had him build it as if he was building it for a client. And at the end of the internship, he got a brand new gaming computer that was, I mean, out of this world, the colors and the lights and all of that. So I think that is important because one, technology is the future. And if we don't get the exposure outside of, you know, Facebook and Instagram and kind of really know the nuts and bolts to it, I think that we're at another disadvantage.
Yes.
So as much as I can expose people, I mean, and it's not just internships in IT. Like, I mean, every summer we bring in, you know, youth to intern here because as a kid, I was always trying to get an intern. I was trying to be in the music business. I was trying to get an internship, and that wasn't happening. So I felt now that I can give internships to people in offices and things like that, and not so much, you know, the McDonald's or the Red Lobster or the Macy's. You know, those are not the only jobs out there. So I like to bring the youth in the summer and give them internships to kind of, and what I do is I take every one of them individually out to lunch at some point during the summer, just to hear their story. What are you thinking? What are you doing in school? How's school coming? Where do you want to go? How do you want to do this? And funny, one of them actually reached out to me over the break. He is now, he was going to Claflin University down in South Carolina. He came and he interned, I think his senior year. He was torn. He wanted to do criminal justice. He didn't know if he wanted to go to law school. He was unsure. His father's, you know, a fatherless household, single mom. And, you know, I talked with him, we talked. So anyway, he called me over the break to tell me that he has my PBA card because he just become NYPD. So he followed his criminal justice. He didn't do the law. As I said, go do the law, go do the law. He did the other thing, but there's still time. He's young. So, you know, I just appreciate that he remembered and came back and said, you know, I remember all the things that you said to me and did for me. And to me, that's better than any dollar I get. Like those type of conversations and those type of situations, the money doesn't matter. And that's why I tell people I don't chase the money anymore. It just shows up.
Right.
And because I just love what I do. And, you know, mentoring is really becoming my thing.
No, that's great. And I know that one of the first mentors both of you had was your fathers, both successful, you know, entrepreneurs in their own right. Could you both speak on, you know, how your fathers influenced you and, you know, what they did or are doing now? Osei, could you start?
Sure. So, you know, what's funny, we learn about each other, you know, all of the friend network, and there are other Black developers that Chris and I are friends with, and we talk and exchange, you know, success stories and challenges and so forth. So with the whole father-son saga, it actually goes back to my grandfather in that one, I was born in Costa Rica, so I speak Spanish fluently. And for those viewers that may not know, the Blacks that are in Costa Rica migrated from Jamaica. So Chris's family is from Jamaica. My mother's from Jamaica in Hanover as well. So what happens there is that we have a broader understanding and context of our travels and cultural understanding and so forth, and then applying that to, you know, where our businesses are located, which is of course in the United States, as far as these companies are concerned. And my grandfather had a restaurant in Costa Rica where when I lived over there during the 4th and 5th and 6th grade, I used to go there every day, you know, after school. And then on the weekends I would go there, and there was a hotel that he owned as well that was right next to it. It was 31 rooms in the hotel, so it was a decent sized hotel. And it was very interesting to learn from him because he's a big personality guy. He was 6'5", you know, big dude, and he had a big personality. You know,
It's your grandfather? No way.
And, you know, I can see now when my kids hear the stories about him, you know, and they say, yeah, we see why you are the way you are. And we understand how you got to be this way. But I think that, you know, that level of intense entrepreneurship, because he had less than a high school education, taught himself how to cook. He actually was a servant for whites as he was progressing and learning, you know, teaching himself how to cook. And that's what he did. He said, you know, I can work for you, I can cook. And he was the cook for the house. And he tested and tried, and they really enjoyed it. And then he started making food for other people on the side secretly. And then I found out, you know, that he then said, well, you know what, I'm going to get out of here and then start a business. So, you know, the compressed version is that transferred through not only my grandfather, but also my father, who had us live in West Africa. We lived in Liberia, before the overthrow of the government. That was, a tremendous experience that I'll never forget, which instilled a lot of the determination and courage that may evidence itself in some of the business activities that we're involved in. And that entrepreneurship, which is the foundational pillars that Chris Bramwell helped to remind me of, is determination, is courage, is foresight, mitigating risk and vision, and being able to effectuate those when you're doing your planning. So all of that, the West Africa, living there for several years, living in Costa Rica, seeing my grandfather and interfacing with the restaurant, all of those pillars assisted me and gave me the foresight to be able to be an entrepreneur, and then pass that on to my children, because my son, Nadir Ruby, is a partner of National Standard Abstract.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, my story, I was going to say something similar that I kind of felt is in the bloodline. And it's, I think it's, you can inherit it. I really do believe that, because I remember as a child, my father, I never saw him work a job per se, get up to go to somebody's business. I always saw him being entrepreneurial. I always saw him, he had a supermarket on Linden Boulevard that he used to run and deal with that. And then when he started property management, he did work for Rochdale. But in my mind, he wasn't working for Rochdale. He was the boss, so therefore it was his. And then when he left Rochdale and started the management company, that's all I saw in my life. So everything I saw him do was like entrepreneurial. So as a child, it kind of clicked in me to become entrepreneurial. So I did things as a child. I have a best friend who we started a painting business, and we would go around knocking on neighbors' doors, asking if we could paint their fence for $50. And then when it snowed, we got them shovels and we got out there and we had the shovel business. So, and I went into the music business, and I just business after business. It's just always been in me. I just like business, and I've never worked for anybody. My father, but I've never really had a job to work for anybody. So I wouldn't understand that 9 to 5, get up and be somewhere, somebody telling me what it is. So I've always felt that even if I gave this up and stopped this, I could start something all over again. It's just innate. It's in me. It's not something that I really don't feel it was taught. I feel like it's in me. Mm-hmm. And I think there's people that have it and there's people that learn it. And I'm just one of the people that has it. So watching my father really inspired me, because I remember, funny story is going to Alexander's. I don't know if you remember this, the department store Alexander's. And they used to have these round racks where they would have the clothes around the racks. And something I used to hear in the house a lot is my father would come home late and be like, yo, why are you home so late? And he would always tell my mother, oh, I had a board meeting. And I never understood what a board meeting was. Like, I thought it was a board and a meeting. I just didn't know that it was a board meeting. So when we would go shopping in Alexander's, I would go inside of that little, whatever, the rack for the clothes. And I would be in there sitting, and my mother would be looking for me, where are you? And I would come out and be like, yo, I'm at a board meeting. So in there, I was having my own board meeting. So it's just been in me. And, my father he's a very conservative guy. He's not a risk taker. He must have been some kind of a risk taker, but he's not a big risk taker like I take a lot of risks. So his conservative side and my risky side, I think it has just made a good marriage for building the business. Because when I got to the business, it was nowhere near the size it is now. And, a lot of it is from what, I've added to his, I always say, you laid the foundation, I got to put on the floors. And that's what I've been doing. I've been building on his foundation and putting on the floors. And now, my children are in the business. So, I'm trying to do the same and grooming them and helping them add to the floor so we can build this tower. So that's my father's story.
Oh, that's amazing. And, I guess kind of in wrapping up, I wanted to get some advice, so find out what advice that both of you might have for that's aspiring, entrepreneurs, whether it's in the real estate business or outside. Chris, could you take that first?
Advice, I would say in the affordable space, and that's the space I'm in. I don't know the market rate space. I haven't really delved into that yet. Is that it takes tremendous patience. As Osei will tell you, like the deal that we closed this year, the one in Jamaica, Queens, I've been working on that deal for 4 years. So it's not something that, it looks so, and I talk to other developers and we always laugh and joke that, people come out at the ribbon cutting and at the groundbreaking and they're like, oh my God, you're doing such great things, never knowing what it took to get to that point. You know, that's always the case. And it's even how people look at me now and look at my lifestyle and they're like, oh, you got it so good, you got it so good. And I always tell my employees, I'm like, but at 3 a.m. in the morning, when you were getting that second sleep, I was in the office working. I was in the office grinding. And the last thing I want to say that, you know, people always say, oh, don't work hard, work smart. I disagree. You have to work hard. I mean, you got to work smart too, but nothing beats hard work, man. I mean, what I've done, you know, and the millennial generation and the now generation where things tend to come easier for them. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So we always have to remember that. So you might get something easy today, or you might make a quick buck today, and you're like, oh, this is nothing. Always remember that race continues.
I think that's great. I think that's great. And, you know, I'll add to that by saying the tools of the structure that we set here, we spend a lot of time in due diligence conversations. So somebody like Chris, who's an excellent mentor and resource on so many levels, a lot of conversations happened with him. But then from the legal perspective, you know, having good, sound legal advice on mitigating risk on a variety of factors, accounting as well. How should we be structuring ourselves, our operating expenses, understanding projections of expenses and then revenue anticipated? How will we ramp up? You know, all of these very basic questions, no matter what business you're in, you're going to have those questions. So having those foundational business 101 pillars are essential. And I think that what happens is, in some cases where I speak to other people, they may have awesome creativity and they'll blow this kind of stuff away, but unfortunately they may not have the understanding or foresight to realize that the legal structure that is it a corp, is it an S corp, C corp, you know, I'm just throwing things out. And how does that impact that specific business based on the kind of business activities you are doing, and is it beneficial to you? You know, that's very important from a legal standpoint, you know, non-disclosures, you know, et cetera, and all of the legal structuring that must be done as far as the 101 business activities are essential, because those things, if not done properly from its inception, can come back later on as major problems that could have been mitigated as far as a risk had they been handled appropriately. So I think that those business 101 tools in the toolkit are something that we all need to continue to attempt to provide and as resources, because they may be costly. You know, what a Chris Bramwell may be able to afford, Osei Ruby may not be able to afford. And I'm not saying it specifically is that, I'm just giving it as an example. So there have to be other resources that can still provide legal advice that is sound and of a high quality level based on where that person or that business is at. So I think that that is very important. And again, I can't stress enough, you know, the CPA and understanding your financial picture is very important as well. And having a good banking relationship for your business is one of those tools in the toolbox as well.
I just got to add to that. That's an excellent point. It's something that I do want to run around preaching about, is that I find so many people with talent at something. You know, they're the greatest plumber I ever saw. They're the greatest cleaner I ever saw. And, you know, you always look at them and you're like, yo, they're in business, or they could be in business. And the thing that I always find that burns, especially in our community, is that business 101. Us not knowing that. We might know how to wire the hell out of a building, but we don't know how to put a bill in or get credit from a bank or anything like that. And that is what I think hurts our Black businesses, is that part right there, because then we make this money, we're excited, we're happy, but we forgot that we got another partner named Uncle Sam. And when Uncle Sam comes along and says, yo, I need my piece, there's your business, because you didn't plan that right. You didn't do that business 101 he talked about. And that is huge in our community. We really have to step up on that in teaching people the business 101 is just as important as having the talent to do whatever skill it is you do.
Exactly right.
No, that makes perfect sense. I mean, you know, I thank both of you, you know, one for being examples of two very successful entrepreneurs who are, one, supporting each other, you know, in the Black community, and also giving back to the Black community. And I think you both are examples of what more entrepreneurs, Black or whatever race, need to be doing. And, you know, thank you for joining, you know, us on this call. Thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for sharing your insights. And, you know, hopefully we'll chat again soon about the bigger deals that y'all are both doing together and individually.
They coming. But thanks for having us, Tony, man. This was good, man. This was good. This is like a detox for me. I don't get to do stuff like this much. So this was great.
No problem.
Absolutely. And I think Shop Black, you know, I can't stress enough how important it is for viewers to continue to subscribe to Shop Black.
Definitely.
And continue to support Shop Black on all of its initiatives. Hitting the like button on, you know, Instagram and Facebook is great, but supporting, you know, Shop Black above and beyond that is where the litmus test really begins and ends, because Shop Black is doing great things by creating visibility for so many other companies, and its various initiatives that it will continue to do. We need to continue to support it as well. So we want to continue to support you. This is a fantastic initiative and has worked very well. So we're excited just to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And thank you, gentlemen, once again. And, you know, you both have a great, wonderful day and a great, you know, rest of the new year.
Yes, sir, man. Enjoy. Happy New Year again to all.
Happy New Year. Take care.
All right. Continue success. Thank you.